and I'm here with NeoLaunchNet, and this is our weekly FEBE meeting, so thank you all for attending. Our sponsor is Dunkin' Donuts from across the street. Dave Sisson also has a location on 58 and Camp's Corner. So I am going to introduce Diane Helbig, and she is with Seize the Day.
This. I jinxed you. I jinxed her.
You did.
I did.
Seize this day. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Do you have a PowerPoint?
I don't. I might go on LinkedIn if we need to.
You're welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm just going to share with you something that's like way too much TMI, but I had a drink. So usually when I do good morning, people don't respond the way you did, like not really loud. And I have to make them do it again because I really like to be greeted when I'm going to be talking to a group of people. So I had this dream the other night that I said good evening, hello, whatever, and no one responded. That there were like people in the audience and no one said a word. And so I did it again, and they still didn't. Like they dug their heels in and they said, forget it, we're not saying good morning to you. So sorry, but I'm going to make you do it again. Good morning.
Good morning.
See how much better that even was? So this morning we're going to be talking about LinkedIn and the ways that you can use it to grow your business. So by a show of hands, who's on LinkedIn? Yay, yay. By a show of hands, whose profile is just 100% or as close as you can get, you're an all-star. Okay, 97, nice job. By a show of hands, who's in groups on LinkedIn? Okay, who's got a professional picture on their profile? Excellent. Who is publishing posts? Who has no idea what I mean when I say publishing posts? Thank you, that's so great. And who's doing prospecting research on LinkedIn? Yeah, not so many. Okay, yeah, sorry, I have no idea what that means. Okay, so really for me, I try and break it down into three main areas that we need to focus on when it comes to LinkedIn. It is my very strong opinion that LinkedIn is the most valuable tool and resource you have in your business today. So it is really worth taking advantage of, okay? And what that means is there are really three ways, if we sort of bundle it, there are three ways you should be using it. One is to be connecting with people and building relationships. The second one is to be gaining credibility and exposure. And the third one is actually doing prospecting research. I'm going to go backwards, 3, 2, 1. And the reason I'm going to do that is because you may have noticed that what I said was prospecting research. I did not say prospecting. And there is a huge difference between the two. So I sort of want to sit on it for a minute. I'm going to ask you another question. By a show of hands, who has ever connected with somebody on LinkedIn and immediately received a solicitation for you should buy my stuff? By a show of hands, how many people enjoyed that? Right? It's awful. They don't know you. You don't know them. And they're automatically pitching you. We don't prospect on LinkedIn. That's not the way that thing works, okay? However, doing research on LinkedIn is invaluable for you. So by a show of hands, who sells to businesses? Who sells to consumers? Who does both? Okay. So the great thing about LinkedIn is that it really is where all of the professionals are. And so it is the place where you get to find how you're connected to the people you want to be talking to. So, one of the things we have to do in our business is we have to be able to say, this is my target market, or these are my target markets. This is who they are, this is what they look like. Then we go figure out who's in that target space, right? Who's on that list. And then we want to know, how are we connected to that person? Because by another show of hands, who likes to cold call? Well, thank you. Because there's always one in every room. It doesn't matter how many people you have in a room.
I don't mind it.
You don't mind it, okay. Yeah, I could have asked the question, who hates it and just won't do it at all in their business, and most people's hands would go up. Okay, by a show of hands, who would prefer a warm introduction over having to cold call people? Exactly, okay. So this is why we use LinkedIn, okay? I'm going to show you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through these three things, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, because really being able to see what I'm talking about when I say prospecting research makes a huge difference, all right? So I said I was going to go 3, 2, 1, and I'm actually going to jump over 2, and I'm going to go to 1, because in order to be able to do prospecting research effectively, you have to be connected to people, and you have to be connected to a significant amount of people. It does not mean that you need to be connected to people you don't know. And this is, I get this question a lot from people who say, should I be connecting with people I don't know, or should I be accepting connection requests from people I don't know, right? I'm going to tell you my philosophy on this and say to you, and then you got to do whatever makes you comfortable, okay? My philosophy is this. I don't believe that you should reach out to people you don't know to connect with them on LinkedIn unless you have a compelling reason why you want to be connected to them, and that reason is not that you are going to sell them something right away, okay? Because they will smell you a mile away when you do that, and they won't like it. And you're trying to build relationships with people and sell to them, not make them so annoyed with you that they will never engage with you. You could have the thing they need, and if you don't do it well, they'll never know, because they're annoyed, okay? So unless you have a compelling reason to connect with somebody, you really want to build a relationship with them, you really want to get to know them and their business, them and what they're doing, my philosophy is don't reach out to them that way. Don't connect with them one-to-one. When it comes to connecting with people who you do think you do have a compelling reason to connect with them, you want to build a relationship with them, maybe they're in a complementary industry and you think you could network well with them, or maybe you're just fascinated by what they do and you want to learn more about them. Maybe there's someone in this group who you think, wow, that's so interesting, we have something in common, I'd like to get to know them better. You should absolutely be connecting with those people, and you should be telling them why you want to connect with them when you do the LinkedIn connection request, okay? And LinkedIn changed something, I don't know, several months ago that I'm not real happy with, where that's a little harder to do. So you have to go to their profile, and you have to click the connect button there, because then a box is going to come up that says, how do you know this person? You can just say you're their friend. You don't have to, but then it gives you that box where you get to say, hi, I would really like to connect with you because da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You just don't do the generic thing, okay? When it comes to accepting connection requests, I'll give you my philosophy. You have to do what you're most comfortable with. This is my philosophy. I end up accepting the vast majority of connection requests I get, regardless of whether they tell me why, and regardless of whether I'm connected to them at all, or I can figure out a reason why it is they want to connect with me, because I do a lot of this. So there's a lot of people I talk to all the time who know me who I don't know. And I just decided that, there's a reason why they want to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will discover what it is. So I'm going to say, okay. The other reason is because it is so easy to disconnect from those people without them ever knowing that you did it, that I don't care, okay? And if they're creepy, you can report them, right? Like there's people who will connect with you so that they can ask you out on a date or tell you that you're the love of their life. Okay, you just report them, and if they do too much of it, they get kicked off, okay? So for me, it's not I'm not real worried about it. I'm not putting my address on there, so I'm not real worried people are gonna, find me or stalk me. But that's my choice. I made that decision. You may say, you know what, unless they tell me why they want to connect with me, and unless I know who they are, or I get it, I'm just not accepting those connection requests, and that's okay too. You make the decision, okay? For me, either one of those is right. Or someone told us, right? Someone like me stood up here and said, you should connect with as many people as you possibly can, and then you've got them, and you're like, oh my God, these people are just yapping, right? Okay. I would say, spend a little bit of time. There's nothing really wrong or bad about spending some time going through your list, going to connections, my network, and clicking on connections, and going through them and just disconnecting from them, okay? You just, Go through the list, spend, I don't know, 20 minutes every couple weeks just going through and disconnecting from people. I do it. Part of the problem is, for someone like me, because I do accept connection requests from people, then when someone says to me, would you introduce me to that person? Sometimes I don't know that person. So I have to say, I can't, because I don't know that person. Okay? So it is, there's dangers of just saying, hey. And there's this thing on LinkedIn called Lions, LinkedIn Open Networkers. And these are people who will take all comers, right? And they will say, connect with me, I'll network, and I'll introduce you to people. No, they won't. And what if they did? They don't know you. How valuable is that? Sales is about relationships. It's about trust. And what you really want when someone introduces you to someone is it's someone who knows you and trusts you, and the other person knows and trusts them. So when they make the introduction, the person says, oh, absolutely, I'll talk to them. Because someone who I trust thought I should. Of course I'll have a conversation with them. See where I'm going with this? It really, really matters. Your connections, your associates, the people who you have in your world are your treasures. Guard them with your life because they really, really matter, okay? And you ask yourself the question, does it make sense for me to introduce person A to person B? And if it makes sense, absolutely do it. If it doesn't make sense, tell person A why it doesn't make sense. Okay? Because first of all, then your trust goes up because you're being truthful, you're being honest, and you're living in integrity. And LinkedIn, for me, is the place where if you live in integrity on LinkedIn, it just elevates you and your network and your connections and your value to all those people who you are connected to, okay? I should say also, because I thank you very much for asking the question, and ask me any question you want at any point in this, okay? Because I don't mind the questions during the presentation. So once you have these connections, what is your name? Matt. So Matt mentioned something really interesting, that then he's got all these people talking about all this stuff that he just doesn't care about, okay? Well, that's a really good point. And the interesting thing is that when you're communicating on LinkedIn, you want to be communicating about things that are relevant to your audience, relevant to your industry, right? So LinkedIn is not the place where you talk about what you did on Friday night or you show cat videos, unless you're a veterinarian, and then you can get away with that. Yes?
As far as when you are making these connections to these people, and I might be getting ahead of myself,
Go
I
ahead.
know we just done.
Go ahead.
I know he talks about the cluttered mess, but there are some people on my LinkedIn that I would want to talk to. So how do you go about approaching these people?
So that's a really good question. So what he said was there's people on his LinkedIn list that he would like to have a conversation with, and I'm going to say something that may sound a little surprising to you. Pick up a phone and call them, okay? So seriously, it's a little old school, but guess what? It's about relationships. LinkedIn does not take the place of you face-to-face, eyeball to eyeball with people. It does not take the place of you actually, it's not where you're going to build all of your relationships and you're never going to have that one-on-one, right? Shoot them an email and say, hey, we're connected on LinkedIn. I'd really like to learn more about what you're doing, what you're up to. Do you think we could schedule a 20-minute coffee call? You don't even have to leave where you are. And if there's someone who's not geographically where you are, that's okay too. Could we just set up a 20-minute coffee call? Right? I'll grab a cup of coffee, you grab a cup of coffee, we'll get on the phone and we'll just talk to each other. Now, I will say that LinkedIn has set up ways for you to stay in contact with the people who you're connected to so that you do have that connection thing. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, when you go onto your LinkedIn, over here on the right, it'll say, X number of updates from the people you're connected to. And it'll be things like work anniversaries or birthdays or new jobs, that kind of thing. And it'll have 3 little buttons. You can like it, you can comment on it, or you can skip it. So LinkedIn gives you the opportunity right there to be in contact with those people, to connect with them, to comment on, congratulate them or wish them a happy birthday or whatever it is, right? So that's, sort of on the edge. However, it gives you the opportunity to actually say something to them right there, okay? I prefer that because it's right when you log on. You don't have to go looking for it. It's not, buried somewhere. They used to send you an email like every day with what those updates are. Maybe they still do. I may have changed my settings so I don't get. Do they still do it? All right, then I changed my settings so I wasn't getting them every day. So, which is so it pops up right in an email, and you can go, oh, so-and-so's birthday's today. And you can click on it. You can go and say happy birthday. So they try and help you have that engagement with people. And nowadays, who's got LinkedIn on their phone?
I mean, I just pull up the app right here. It gives me a list of who's say congrats. It comes right up.
Okay? You almost have no excuse to not be connecting with people and not be engaging with them. Okay? Now, I will say that I have no problem, and I use Buffer and I use Hootsuite to schedule stuff to go ahead of time. So like my status updates, many of them are scheduled way ahead of time. So that's not in real time. I'm not participating in real time, but I'm not reaching out directly to people I'm connected to and fakely going, hey, how are you? It's sort of
What are those programs again?
Hootsuite, HOOTSUITE, and Buffer. They're technically, well, Buffer's not really a dashboard. Buffer is an opportunity to schedule things to go later. You just stick it in a buffer. You just grab something that you want to say, and you put it in there, and you decide which profiles you want it to go to, and you set up ahead of time how often you want to be posting on that profile and what times, and it does it. It sticks them in there. Which isn't to say that you can't do something immediately. You can't say post this right now, because I've done that a million times. But it's a time management tool, and Hootsuite is a time management tool as well. It loses its energy. The minute you know something's automated, it loses its value for you, right? And I will tell you that I think what is more valuable than doing that, I think you could never look at that, and you could never click the comment, congratulations, or happy birthday, or whatever. So you could never look at that section. What would be more valuable is a couple of things. If you commented on the things people are saying that you're seeing in your stream, where it makes sense, it's stuff that you, like if someone posts a link to an article, and it's a topic that looks interesting for you, read the article and then comment back. That's more valuable because it's actually engaging with somebody, okay? I'm not saying you have to sit on LinkedIn all day, every day. I don't, but I am saying if you carve out time, people don't necessarily post, they don't post as much on LinkedIn as they do on Twitter or Facebook. So it's not like you're gonna be scrolling through pages and pages and pages of stuff, but when you can just gently scroll through and you can see what people are talking about, comment on it, share it with your network, okay? In groups, participate in the conversation, start a conversation. These are ways that you connect with people so that you are actually there, so you are actually building the relationship, okay? And it really, really matters, because remember, why else are you there? If you go onto LinkedIn and you put your profile up there and you do a bunch of stuff and then you walk away, what did you accomplish? Not a ton, all right? Because what you're telegraphing to everybody is it's all about you, it's not about them, you're not interested in building relationships, you just want to be there. I would say then don't, okay? But here's the other thing. The way that Google does are you guys familiar with like page rankings, how you get your website up to how you get known when people are searching for stuff in the middle of the night? In the middle of the night when you can't sleep because you're worried about something at work or something in your life, so you go on Google and you type something in. If you want to be the one who comes up, you have to be engaging on the social networks. And you have to be engaging with current relevant content. It isn't enough to click like. It isn't enough to do some sort of automatic thing. You have to be sharing current relevant content with the people in your networks. Then when people Google, you will come up because you are contributing. That's what Google's looking for, okay? So, and LinkedIn gives you this great place to share your expertise. So now we're gonna go to number 2, which is sharing your expertise, creating credibility and gaining exposure. So one of the ways that you do that is by putting in status updates where maybe you say something, you offer a statistic or you offer a tip or a suggestion or you say something about something that's relevant in your industry. I'm going to pick on Chris Corpus for a minute because I know him and I know what he does for a living because he's my attorney. So Chris could actually put something in a status update about if there's a new law that maybe the state just passed that has something to do with contracts or has something to do with employees, or that whole weird subcontractor, now all of a sudden you're subcontractors, or there was that weird subcontractor law thing. See, I have no idea, but I have him. So it doesn't really, I don't have to worry about it because I already have him as my attorney. But he could put something out there on LinkedIn that said, are you familiar with this? Are you aware that this just passed Congress or this just passed the State House? And here's a couple things to pay attention to. Nowhere in there did he say, call me, or I can handle this for you. He just said, here's stuff you need to know. His expertise, okay? So he's sharing. He's giving current relevant content. He's sharing valuable information with people. They may or may not need it. They'll make that determination, okay? So that's one place that he can be doing that. The second place is within groups. When you join a group, you should join a group so that you can engage with the members of the group. And you can build relationships with them. And you may find that you meet someone in a group that you think, wow, I'd really like to get to know that person better. And then you can reach out to them on LinkedIn to connect with them one-to-one, all right? So are we familiar with the first connections, second connections, third connections, and out of network? Do we know how those work? Okay, so I'm going to do this because I know these people. So if I'm connected to Jan, well, you know, because I don't have to try to remember people's names. Okay. So, sorry. So she and I, if I'm connected to her directly on LinkedIn, we're first. Okay? If Jan is connected to Bonnie, but I am not, Bonnie's now my second. Okay? And I have to go through Jan to get to her. If Bonnie's connected to Penn, but I am not, and Jan is not, he's now my third. So I would have to go to Jan, to go to Bonnie, to get to Penn. Forget it. Just don't even bother. It's a total waste of time. What's your name? Dave. Okay, I'm not connected to Dave at all. I don't even know his name, right? He's totally out of my network and going to be really hard for me to connect to. However, if we're in a group together, we are now seconds. Okay? And I should have used someone I hadn't met before. But okay, I mean, if we're in a group together, we're seconds. Automatically, we are seconds. Because what LinkedIn says is, you have something in common. We're going to jump you to the head of the class. Not to the very head of the class, to the second row. All right? And we're going to make you seconds, so it makes it so much easier for me to connect with him and start engaging him in conversation and ask to connect directly with him if I want to start having, building a relationship with him, because I'm right there. Okay, yes?
So can you not connect to somebody who's a third that's in your group? Do you have to connect, or can you go to them and just say, can I connect with you, and then they become a first?
You could go directly to them. Okay. You could absolutely go directly to them and tell them why you want to connect with them, okay? However, let's look at it this way. If I want to talk to Bonnie because I think I have something that might be able to help her, and I would just like to have a conversation with her because based on what she does, she's within my target audience. I'm going to go to Jan. And I'm not going to go to Jan through LinkedIn. I'm going to call Jan, or I'm going to email her directly, and I'm going to say, Jan, I see you're connected to Bonnie. I'm wondering if you'd feel comfortable introducing me to her, because I'd like to learn more about da-da-da-da-da, whatever it is, okay? I didn't say I wanted to sell her something. I just want, because I might not. She might turn out to be, wackadoo. And I may say,
she's the lady with the monkey.
She's got a monkey, so she's darn close. Now, I know Bonnie. I've known Bonnie for ages, so I'm allowed to pick on her. But you see what I mean? I may say, whoa, no way. But we may identify that we have a relationship that's worth building and really getting to know each other. She may not need what I have to sell, but we may end up having a really good relationship. But I'm gonna ask Jan to introduce me to her. But I'm not gonna do it through LinkedIn, and I'm going to give Jan an out. I'm gonna say, would you feel comfortable introducing me to her? It's all permission-based, okay? It's not pushy. I'm not going to, which I know has happened to someone in this room, I'm not gonna notice that Jan is connected to Bonnie and go directly to Bonnie and say, hey, Bonnie, we have Jan in common. And Jan suggested that I talk to you. Let's have lunch. Because Jan did not suggest that I talk to her because I never said anything to Jan about it. Bad. Bad, bad, bad. Do you know why it's bad? I know. You want to argue with me about this one? Go ahead.
No?
I'm okay.
I'm just saying, does it make more sense that if you want to connect with Bonnie, to call Bonnie up and say, hey, I see you do a workers' comp thing. I'd like to learn more about your business. I see we're in the same area instead of trying to go through it.
I personally don't think so. I think you can, but a warm introduction is so much better because see, Jan knows me and trusts me, and Bonnie knows Jan and trusts Jan. So if Jan calls Bonnie and says, or sends us a mutual email and says, you know what, Bonnie, my friend, I think you should meet my friend Diane. She does blah, 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 blah. I think you two could connect and there might be some synergies there for you two, da, 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 da. Bonnie's gonna be more likely to respond to that email when then I respond and go, thanks Jan, hey Bonnie, can we have coffee? Then if I reach out to Bonnie through LinkedIn or through email or through the phone, I might not even get her because I'm a salesperson. Okay, you and then you.
I was going to say, yeah, in that sense, you're almost throwing Jan under the bus.
Yeah.
She never gave you an out in the first place, an ingress to talk to her.
So what just happened to my relationship with Jan?
Now you've your relationship with Jan, too.
Exactly. So my relationship building or my relationship destroying? I'm relationship destroying. Killed two. Right. In one shot I killed two. Sort of silly. Yes.
Well, just with the scenario you gave, I think you touched on it pretty
Yeah.
much, but the two of them talk.
Yeah.
And it's not, you find out that you weren't telling the truth, then the whole thing blows up.
And so not only do we live in a really small town, right? Because Northeast Ohio is one of the smallest business communities in the world, which is a fabulous thing, but we also live in a global economy. Do I really want everyone to know that I was only in it for myself, that I was only interested in myself, so I hopscotched right over her, leapfrogged right over her to her, and threw her under the bus, as we say, in the process? No, I'd be an absolute pariah. No one would ever talk to me about anything, and I'd have people disconnecting from me right and left. Chris?
Remember that one gal who was doing that job posting service, and someone wanted to connect to her for LinkedIn, and this may be 3 years ago, and she said, she wrote back to her and said, the only reason why you want to connect with me is because you want access to my database, and I'm never going to give it to you. You haven't earned it yet. And then she went.
Ruined her career.
It did. She completely had to lose that. She had to step down from that whole business.
It ruined her career. It absolutely. Do you remember that? Do you guys remember that at all? What was her name? She was really well known in town. She was in Cleveland. She was really, really well known for social media. And so you have to really think about how you are engaging with people, not only the behavior of how you are reaching out and connecting. Do I think it's wrong if you tried to reach out directly to Bonnie? I don't think that's wrong at all. Let me clarify, okay? If your preferred method is to directly reach out to people to try and get them to connect with you or to have a conversation with you, rock on, right? Then you don't mind cold calling. What I'm saying is, I think the vast universe of people would much rather have a warm introduction. First of all, it's the shortest path. And you sort of step over the building of the trust thing. Sales, a big part of sales is trust. I have to trust you first, right? I don't even necessarily have to like you, but I absolutely have to trust you in order to do business with you. So if I am introduced to you by someone who I trust, we don't have as far to go on the trust meter, right? Now, sometimes it can be like blind dating, right? By a show of hands, who's ever gone on a blind date? Did you marry them?
I did.
You did. And there's always one in the room, right? Because the rest, oh my gosh, congratulations. Because you know what? 2?
28 years last time.
Oh my God. Because can I tell you that the rest of the people in the room are going, because what I thought to myself was, why in the world did you introduce me to that person? Don't you know me? Why did you think that I was going to like that person, right? I mean, you just, okay, well, it can be a little bit like blind dating, but you know, the more we know these people, the more we've built relationships with these people, the more we understand what they do, the easier it is for us to say, I will definitely introduce you to that person, or say to them, I'm not going to introduce you to them, because you know what, they don't have a need for that right now. I happen to know them really well. They're over here doing this stuff. They're not going to take the call. It's a waste of your time. Whatever it is. But that's what relationship building is really all about. It's not about checking off the list of, okay, I did this, and then okay, I did that, and then okay, I did the other thing. It's about really building the relationship. And the great thing about LinkedIn is that it gives you this huge opportunity to get that done. Okay? Now, I'm going to jump Well, wait, I gotta go back to number 2 for a minute, because building credibility and exposure. So we talked about participating in groups and carrying on conversations and posting status updates. But the other really big one is publishing a post. And publishing a post is when you write an article, or you take an old article that you wrote years ago, and you post it on LinkedIn into Pulse. You guys know what Pulse is? Well, raise your hand if you don't know what Pulse is. Let's do it this way. Okay, great. So a couple years ago, I can't remember how many years ago now, LinkedIn started this thing called LinkedIn Today, and it was a news aggregator. LinkedIn decided it was going to go out on the internet, it was going to find all the news articles that were out there, and it was going to pull them all to LinkedIn, to one place on LinkedIn, because what it figured was, if we bring you everything, the people, the information, you never have to leave. You can live in this little ecosystem that's called LinkedIn. You can log on, it can be your homepage, you can log on in the morning, you can just stay here, because everything that you need will be right here, okay? And it was called LinkedIn Today, and you could pick the categories you were interested in, you could pick everything. Well, then they changed it to LinkedIn Pulse, I don't know why, and then what they said was, you know, currently we're only pulling information from the big guns, like Inc. magazine, and Entrepreneur magazine, and Time, and Forbes, and Richard Branson, and you know, President Obama and Ariana Huffington and all the big names. But we have a whole lot of people here on LinkedIn that have really good information to share, and they're sharing it other places. They're posting their articles and their blogs other places. We should give them the opportunity to do it here. So they did. So they did it with a handful of people. You know, they beta tested it with a handful of people, and now it is open, I believe, to everybody. Okay? So when you log on to LinkedIn and you see your little picture there, and right under it it'll say, share an update, share a photo, publish a post. Just each one of these things. If you clicked publish a post, it would take you to Pulse, where you can put a picture up there, you can put a title, and you can put your article there. And once again, your article should be current relevant information that you are sharing with your audience. You can tag it with keywords. And then you publish it, and LinkedIn takes it, and it puts it out there into the ecosystem. Chris?
Does that go to public then?
It
Or
goes.
is that to just your connection?
No, it goes to public. What it does is it is now out there for anyone on LinkedIn to see. Okay? And then what happens is LinkedIn will look at some stuff and go, well, you know, we should feature that in a category. We should stick that in a category. And so it will. And it'll be featured in that category. And the people who have decided they follow that category, they'll get a notification that there's a new post in there. Wait a second. Yes?
I was just going to say it works. I've gotten job offers that way,
Nice.
including recently from Stanford, so do it.
Okay, I'm done. I'm leaving. That was so great. I love a good testimonial. Chris?
Well, it's just going to be how often, if you're actually posting an article, what would be the duration? Or I mean, how the frequency? Like once a week, once a month?
You know, I shoot for once a week, but I'm pulling old articles that I wrote, you know, 10 years ago and freshening them up and putting them out there, which you can absolutely do. I would say at minimum you want to be doing it once a month. And then you want to pay attention to comments, because it won't notify you that it really doesn't do a good job of notifying you that you've gotten those comments. But pay attention to people who are commenting on it, because then you can, you know, there's someone, they're following you, you know. Stop and think about the questions that you have gotten from people, like customers, clients, prospects, because that's stuff people are interested in and want to know. And make a list of 3 to 5 categories or topics that you could talk about and start writing. And you may even have subcategories under those categories, and that's okay too. Like if I said sales was one of my categories, I got a bunch of subcategories under that. Okay? So, and then you just say, today I'm going to write about this. The other thing I will tell you is that once you start writing, and once you figure out what those topics are, you will all of a sudden notice you are receiving information or experiences or something that's saying to you, oh my gosh, I got to write about that. It's, you know, it's sort of the way the universe works. So you won't, hang on a second, you won't be at a loss for writing about stuff. You should never shy away from the negative, because it gives you an opportunity to further share your expertise and your viewpoint. And it's okay for people, remember when I said to you, you go ahead and argue with me? It's really okay, because it's dialogue, right? Do you have another thing you want to argue with me about? Good, what is it?
Should you talk politics on LinkedIn?
Never. Hey, thanks for asking that question. So unless you're a politician, I'm going to tell you, it's not social. Of course, I'm going to tell you not to do it on Facebook either, or if you're my brother, you're getting blocked because I'm just totally sick of it. So seriously, make it, and be professional always on LinkedIn. Always. You should have a professional picture. It should not be you and your dog, unless you're a vet. It should not be you by a tree, unless you are an arborist or a landscaper, okay? You don't have to have a suit on, like I do, if your industry does not speak to that, okay? But you do need to look buttoned up. You need to look professional. Stop and think about it for a minute. Someone's going to hire you. Does that picture make them feel like you are a professional, like you are going to do a good job, like you mean what you say? Or are you dating? So here's the truth. The dirty secret is this. We are all trying to grow our businesses. Fact. That's why we're there. Guess what? Everybody knows that. Next. All right? But when you telegraph that what you care about is growing your business, no one wants to be around you because it's all about you. All right? Be a solution provider, be a problem solver. Understand you don't want to do business with everybody. You want to walk away from money if it's going to end up being a really bad relationship, and the only way you're going to know is by engaging somebody in conversation and getting to know them. Okay? So let's just let it go that you're there to grow your business. Behave in a way that you would want other people to behave with you, right? And the way you were raised, to be polite and ask permission, right? Permission-based marketing is the best, okay? Thank you all very much. That was a lot of fun.